is here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader,
Our number is 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. All right, look. I am really getting sick and tired. Mark Levin, our number is 877-381. For the racism that is being pushed 3811 every single day in the media by the Democrat Party, at school board meetings, by members of Congress. I am sick of it. And by racism, I mean you can say anything you want, anything, about a white person or white people. Joy Reid is a bigot, and she's a homophobe, and she's disgusting. And I'll get back to her in a minute. And she's not alone. By the Democrat Party. We have critical race theory being pushed throughout our society, including our schools with little kids, which is a racist ideology. And by racism, I mean trashing white people. Anything you want. Anything. Look how they dehumanize individuals. You're a white person. Doesn't matter what you do, how you do it, where you do it. You're white. And she's a homophobe. Now, you can be white. She's disgusting. And be from back to her in a Switzerland, and you can be white. She's not alone. By the Democrat Party. And be from Bolivia. Race theory, but apparently all white people have everything in common. Just like all black people are all the same. And all Latinos are all the same, whether you're from Honduras or Mexico. These convenient racist categories they stick us in started with the federal government. And the Democrat Party pursues them in their own interests. And the American Marxists just love it. Love it. And they have these low IQ, hateful people all over cable and network television, all races. And if they don't have enough, they bring them in from the outside. So-called professors and experts and authors and all the rest. I am sick of it. Racist categories this country they stick us in started with the federal. The vast majority of the people in this country are tolerant, are benevolent, are not racist. They have these low IQ. Otherwise, why would this white people, white supremacy cable and network television, all racist, people of color, and if they don't have enough, they bring them in from the outside. So-called decade after decade after experts and authors and all the rest. If white supremacists and white are really in control, are really racists, why would they tolerate any of this? And yet listen to the racism that comes from the American Marxists. Absolutely intolerant. Even of people of color, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, what have you. If they don't go along with the revolution, if they don't go along with the Democrat Party, we saw with Larry Elder in California. This Marxism, racism, and I'll add anti-Semitism is now firmly entrenched in the Democrat Party, in the American media, in academia, and in entertainment. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's turning us into a third world balkanized country rather than people assimilating and proud of their culture and their society in America. In America. You have wealthy counties like Loudoun County that elects Democrats to their school board and board of supervisors. Talking about reparations? Reparations for whom? Nobody deserves any reparations. Period. Period. And then more handouts. Reparations is just another way to redistribute wealth. Free college. Why? Why is it free? We'll pay off your debt. Why are we paying off people's debt? 3 months of family leave paid for by the government. Why? You had children. You decided to have children. Why should everybody else pay so you can be off for 3 months? A minimum annual income they're talking about. Why? Why? But white supremacy, white dominant society, it's unbelievable. You have Haitians pouring into this country. And so they attack the Border Patrol. The men on the horses, the vast majority of whom, by the way, are Hispanic Americans. What did they do that was wrong? What did they do that was wrong? No, they weren't whipping Haitians. That is the typical lie of the American media, corrupt, and the Democrat Party, constantly looking to exploit and advance racism. Endlessly. Endlessly. So now the Biden administration orders we're not going to use horses anymore. We're not going to use horses anymore. We've used horses in metropolitan cities in this country so the officers can be up above the crowd. There was nothing wrong that was done with the horses. And the lies from the media to try and continue to create and exploit race in this country. It's constant. And you can only be racist if you're a certain color. You cannot be racist if you're another color. Who says? Where does that come from? Is Farrakhan a racist? Is he a bigot? Is he an anti-Semite? Of course he is. Are the things that Sharpton has said and done during certainly the early parts of his career anti-Semitic and racist? Of course they are. But we're supposed to pretend they're not? Now enough is enough. The speech police and the media. If you're another color. Who says? They're little hitmen and hit women with their websites that are funded by leftist, Marxist billionaires like Media Matters and so forth. They'll try to destroy you and destroy your character, like mine. Go read the write-up on Wikipedia for me. It's unbelievable what they try to do to people. But I'm not going to stand for this. And the Democrat Party is a party of anti-Semitism. Look, I don't care how many of my fellow Jews are Democrats. They are endorsing and supporting a party that will not put down the anti-Semitism within its ranks. The Speaker of the House doesn't talk about it. The majority leader in the Senate, who's Jewish, dares not talk about it. Joe Biden embraces the anti-Semites, starting with Tlaib. He won't say a word. You don't see this in the Republican Party. You don't see this among constitutional conservatives, and yet they paint us all as Klansmen and neo-Nazis, white supremacists. We're none of those things. And you know what? They have more in common with the neo-Nazis and the Klansmen and white supremacists than people who believe in the Constitution and the Declaration, and limited government and prosperity and liberty for all. But day in and day out, whether it's the New York Slimes or the Washington Compost, whether it's the Constipated News Network or MSLSD, day in and day out, PBS, for God's sakes, which we subsidize, it's the same thing about white people who are human beings, who are not all the same, pushing racism. Racism in the freest country in the face of the earth. And how do we know that? Well, look around. Look at the diversity in your own community. Look at the diversity in this country. Look at what's happening on our borders. Those aren't Swedes and Danes pouring over the border. These are people of color. Why the hell would they come to a country? A country that promotes racism against people of color, because we don't. It's the biggest friggin' lie, and they keep repeating it. Meanwhile, the anti-Semitism of many of the same people who push the racism issue goes unnoticed or uncommented upon. Because it's the Democrats again. The Democrat Party, the home of slavery. That's its history. The Democrat Party, the home of segregation. The Democrat Party, always the home of racism. The Democrat Party, the home of anti-Semitism. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. I can name one leading slave supporter after another in the history of the Democrat Party. I can name one segregationist after another in the history of the Democrat Party. I can name one modern-day racist after another in the present-day Democrat Party. I can name one anti-Semite after another in the Democrat Party. Now do it in the Republican Party. And I'm not even that big on the Republican Party, but point to them. And the media, scum of the earth. That's right, I said it, scum of the earth. Frauds, corrupt, intellectually dishonest through and through. I want you to listen to this from Joy Reid on MSNBC Monday. I meant to get to it, but I'm going to get to it now. Gabby Petito was murdered. And they're looking for her murderer right now. Her ex-boyfriend. She happens to be white. And so Joy Reid notices that above all else. A white girl. A white girl. What's the... This bastard, Joy Reid, should have her ass fired because she's a hate monger. And she's always been a hate monger on social media with gays and others. And she's hired by MSNBC, part of NBC, owned by Comcast. Listen to this. Cut 10, go.
If you've been watching the news for the past few days or on Twitter or TikTok, you're probably familiar with the name Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old aspiring social media influencer who was reported missing after her fiancé returned from their van life excursion without her. On Sunday, human remains believed to be Petito's were found in a national park in Wyoming. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow to confirm the identity. Now, it goes without saying that no family should ever have to endure that kind of pain. And the Petito family certainly deserves answers and justice. But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name. Missing White Woman Syndrome.
Missing White Woman Syndrome. You see? You all must be familiar with Missing White Women Syndrome because you're all...
Now, it goes without saying that no family should ever have to endure that kind of pain.
Is a white woman
and the Petito family certainly deserves answers and
justice. How come you're not this upset?
But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name. Missing White Woman Syndrome.
Missing White Woman Syndrome. Tell you something, you racist propagandist. You bigot. Let me tell you something. You see? You all must be familiar with Missing White women's syndrome on this show over and over again.
Now, it goes without saying that no family should ever have to endure that kind of pain, and the Petito family certainly deserves answers and justice. But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name.
Who are being
missing
murdered
white woman
as they sit
syndrome.
in their car with their parents, or they're in their bedrooms, or they're watching TV with a grandparent on this show over and over again. Enters their brain.
That no family should ever have to endure that kind of pain, and the Petito family certainly deserves answers and justice.
Or they're shooting up.
But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same?
It's amazing how little this is covered by Joy Reid. It's amazing how little this is covered by MSNBC and NBC and all the rest of them. It's amazing. You know what I call this? I call this left-wing ignorance syndrome. And the reason, I would argue, that so much of it goes ignored is because these are Democrat-run cities with Democrat mayors. That's why. The slaughter that goes on in our cities every night, especially on the weekends, is unbelievable for any civilized nation.
And you don't even know what you just heard. This woman, Joy Reid, is sickening.
Because they see the ratings.
I don't give a damn what race she is. She is sickening. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Even though, according to the FBI, the slaughter that took place there had nothing to do with race. And the communist Chinese are monitoring this. The Russians are monitoring it. The Iranians, the North Koreans, they're all monitoring this. And so they take the Democrat talking points and they use it against us. Because the Democrats, listen to me.
Hillsdale College serves 4 purposes: learning, character, faith, and freedom. Now, education and faith thrive in freedom, and freedom requires an educated people, a people of good character to preserve it. Hillsdale College has been providing the education needed to preserve free government for over 175 years, and it continues to provide that education today, not only to its 1,500 undergraduate and graduate students, but nationwide, through its free online courses, its support of classical K-12 charter schools, and its other outreach efforts on behalf of liberty. Hillsdale's Articles of Association, dating back to 1844, commit the college to preserving the blessings of civil and religious liberty through the provision of sound learning. This learning includes the Constitution. It includes the laws of nature and nature's God, as described in the Declaration of Independence. It includes America's great heritage and liberty that too often today is falsely derided and denied. Hillsdale's motto is pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844. And it'll continue to fight to live up to that motto, come what may. Learn more. Go to levinforhillsdale.com. That's Levin for Hillsdale.com.
How many missing people of color has Joy Reid reported on?
1, 3, 10? Any?
How many missing people of color has Chuck Todd, George Stephanopoulos, Andrea Mitchell, Brian Williams, Don Lemon, Fredo Cuomo, The View, The Morning Joe, Jake Tapper? How many missing people of color have they done stories on? How about NBC Nightly News, ABC News, CBS News? How many missing people of color? How about the Associated Press? How many missing people of color? How many? Now, if they've done any, fine. I haven't done my research on this, but I don't recollect too many, if any. Do you? Sure, we can dig something up, but the fact is, this is what a fraud these people are, including Joy Reid, to bring race into the fact that this young woman was murdered. And they're trying to find the boyfriend to bring him to justice is sickening beyond belief. I'll be right back.
Hillsdale College serves 4 purposes: learning, character, faith, and freedom. Now, education and faith thrive in freedom, and freedom requires an educated people, a people of good character to preserve it. Hillsdale College has been providing the education needed to preserve free government for over 175 years, and it continues to provide that education today, not only to its 1,500 undergraduate and graduate students, but nationwide. Through its free online courses, its support of classical K-12 charter schools, and its other outreach efforts on behalf of liberty. Hillsdale's Articles of Association, dating back to 1844, education the college to preserving the blessings of civil and religious liberty through the provision of sound learning. This learning includes the Constitution. It includes the laws of nature and nature's God, as described in the Declaration of Independence. It includes America's great heritage and liberty that too often today is falsely derided and denied. Hillsdale's motto is pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844, and it'll continue to fight to live up to that motto come what may. Learn more. Go to levinforhillsdale.com. That's Levin for Hillsdale.com.
This is the nation's town hall meeting, and you can join in at 877-381-3811.
You think I like talking about this stuff? I hate talking about this stuff. But you have to confront what's going on. And for this, I will undoubtedly come under attack, and I will fight back. I will push back hard. You must be unrelenting. You must be resolute. The truth shall set you free. Isn't it interesting? These individuals, they don't really care that much about race. Race is a tool. Or they wouldn't treat people of color who reject their ideology, who reject their motives, who reject their politics, as they treat them. Use race against people of color. Try to destroy the character of people of color. Try to marginalize people of color in all walks of life. If they don't buy into this radical, hateful, racist, Marxist ideology, or they dare not to be registered as Democrats or whatever. This is a tactic of bullying and threatening people. I mean, the facts are there. They lie all the time. Lie on the left all the time about this country, about brutality in this country, about law enforcement in this country. They lied about these men on these horses on the border. They lie all the time. PBS has promoted Yamiche